How did a carpenter from a small, unassuming town in ancient Judea become the most influential figure in human history? Jesus of Nazareth is a name known across the globe, revered, debated, and sometimes misunderstood. His story is as enigmatic as it is transformative. Was he a wise teacher, a revolutionary, a prophet, or the Son of God? These questions have fascinated billions for over 2 millennia. But here's the real mystery. How did this one man, who never held political power or wrote a book, spark a movement that has endured for thousands of years? Picture this: a humble man walking dusty roads, gathering a small band of followers. He preached about love, forgiveness, and turning the other cheek, a stark contrast to the divisive and violent times he lived in. His words ignited hope among the oppressed, and his miracles left skeptics speechless. But who was he really? Some called him the Messiah, while others labeled him a heretic. His life and death continue to evoke awe and wonder, but his resurrection is what truly divides belief from doubt. This video embarks on a journey to uncover the truth about Jesus. Who was he in the eyes of history, faith, and humanity? We'll explore his life's pivotal moments, the timeless teachings that still resonate today, and the miracles that challenge our understanding of what's possible. Was he just a man with a profound message? Or was there something divine about him? We'll also delve into the cultural and political world he lived in, one teetering on the edge of revolution, where his message of peace clashed with the Roman Empire's iron fist. Finally, we'll examine the impact of his crucifixion and resurrection, events that became the foundation of Christianity and have shaped billions of lives since. By the end of this journey, you'll not only gain a deeper understanding of who Jesus was but also why he continues to inspire, challenge, and transform people from all walks of life. So, who is Jesus to you? Let's dive into the story that changed the course of history. The historical Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth is not just a figure of faith, he is a figure rooted in history. While debates about his divinity persist, historical evidence overwhelmingly supports his existence. Ancient texts, including Roman and Jewish records, mention Jesus, confirming that he was indeed a real person, who walked the earth over 2,000 years ago. The Gospels, though theological in nature, also provide insight into his life, painting a vivid picture of a man whose teachings sparked a global movement. Jesus was born in Bethlehem during a time of political turmoil under Roman rule. The Jewish people longed for a Messiah, someone to liberate them from oppression and restore their kingdom. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, a small, obscure town, working as a carpenter before beginning his public ministry around the age of 30. At that time, the world he entered was fraught with tension. The Roman Empire's domination clashed with Jewish traditions, creating a society yearning for hope and change. Historical accounts describe Jesus as a charismatic teacher who captivated crowds with his words. He spoke of God's kingdom, love, and justice, often challenging the established religious leaders of the time. These leaders, the Pharisees and Sadducees, saw him as a threat, as his teachings often undermined their authority. Despite their opposition, his influence grew. Ordinary people were drawn to him, not just because of his message, but also because of the extraordinary acts attributed to him. One of the most compelling aspects of Jesus' historical narrative is the miracles he performed. Eyewitnesses claim he healed the sick, restored sight to the blind, and even raised the dead. While skeptics argue over their validity, these stories have been passed down for centuries, adding to the intrigue of his life. Ultimately, the historical Jesus is inseparable from the cultural and political context of his time. He lived in an era where speaking out against the authorities, both religious and political, came at great personal risk. Yet, he boldly proclaimed his message, knowing it could cost him everything. Who was this man who captivated so many? Was he merely a teacher and healer, or was there something extraordinary about him? Let's continue unraveling the mystery by diving into his teachings and the miracles that left an indelible mark on the world. Jesus' teachings and miracles. Jesus' teachings were radical, profound, and deeply transformative, challenging societal norms and inviting people to see the world through the lens of love, humility, and grace. His words were simple yet carried the weight of divine wisdom, resonating with the oppressed and unsettling the powerful. Central to his message was the concept of the kingdom of God, a spiritual realm where love, justice, and mercy reign supreme. But what made Jesus truly unique was not just what he said but how he lived and demonstrated those teachings. One of Jesus' most famous teachings is found in the Sermon on the Mount, where he proclaimed, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," and "Love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you." These ideas were countercultural in a world that often celebrated power and revenge. His parables, short, vivid stories like the prodigal son or the Good Samaritan, revealed profound truths about forgiveness, compassion, and God's boundless love. These stories weren't just philosophical musings, they were calls to action, urging listeners to embody these values in their daily lives. But Jesus didn't just teach, he acted. His miracles served as living illustrations of his message. When he healed the sick, it was more than an act of compassion, it was a declaration that God's kingdom had come to earth, bringing restoration and hope. When he fed the 5,000 with just 5 loaves and 2 fish, he demonstrated the abundance of God's provision. These acts weren't mere displays of power, they carried deep symbolic meaning, affirming his claim that he was sent by God. One of the most awe-inspiring miracles attributed to Jesus was raising Lazarus from the dead. After 4 days in the tomb, Lazarus walked out alive at Jesus' command. This wasn't just a miracle, it was a turning point. It solidified the belief of his followers while intensifying the hostility of his opponents. What makes Jesus' life so compelling is the balance of his humanity and divinity. He shared meals with sinners, showed compassion to the outcasts, and wept over human suffering. Yet, he performed acts that seemed beyond human capability, leaving people to wonder, who was this man who walked among them? His teachings continue to inspire millions today, and his miracles remain a subject of fascination and faith. But how did his life lead to a death so brutal, followed by a resurrection so miraculous? Let's move on to the events that defined his ultimate purpose, the crucifixion and resurrection. The crucifixion and resurrection. The crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus are the cornerstone events of Christianity, representing both the depths of human suffering and the heights of divine hope. These events are not only pivotal in understanding who Jesus was, but also in grasping why his life continues to shape the world today. Jesus' crucifixion was not an unexpected tragedy, it was the culmination of growing opposition from religious and political authorities. His teachings had challenged the Pharisees and Sadducees, undermining their authority and exposing their hypocrisy. His growing popularity among the people made him a threat to the Roman Empire, which feared rebellion in an already unstable region. After Judas Iscariot betrayed him, Jesus was arrested and brought before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. Despite finding no fault in him, Pilate succumbed to the pressure of the crowd and sentenced Jesus to death by crucifixion, a punishment reserved for the most heinous criminals. Jesus was beaten, mocked, and forced to carry his cross to Golgotha, the place of his execution. There, he was nailed to the cross, an excruciating and humiliating death. As he hung there, he uttered words that still resonate today: "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Jesus' influence today. 2,000 years after his time on earth, the influence of Jesus remains unparalleled. His teachings have shaped cultures, inspired countless movements, and transformed the lives of billions across the globe. But what makes his message so enduring? At the core of Jesus' influence is his radical call to love and serve others. His teachings on compassion and forgiveness have become foundational to ethical systems worldwide. Concepts like human dignity, equality, and care for the marginalized have their roots in his words. The Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is a principle that transcends religious boundaries, influencing societies and legal systems alike. Jesus' influence isn't just philosophical, it's deeply personal. Across centuries, his teachings have provided comfort to the brokenhearted, guidance to the lost, and purpose to the disillusioned. Stories of transformation abound, of individuals who turned away from hatred, addiction, or despair after encountering his message. From saints like Mother Teresa to everyday believers, his example of selfless love has inspired acts of generosity and kindness that ripple through time. On a global scale, Jesus' life and message have been the catalyst for some of history's greatest advancements in education, healthcare, and human rights. The establishment of schools, hospitals, and charities by Christian organizations reflects his call to care for the least among us. Movements like the abolition of slavery and civil rights advocacy have drawn strength from his teachings on justice and equality. However, Jesus' influence is not without challenges. In a world marked by division, people often struggle to live up to his ideals of unity and forgiveness. Despite this, his message continues to inspire dialogue and bridge gaps between cultures and faiths. For many, Jesus' resurrection offers a hope that transcends earthly struggles. It promises new beginnings, a reminder that even in the face of despair, life and love prevail. This hope has led to enduring faith communities worldwide, from towering cathedrals to humble house churches, where believers gather to worship and live out his message. In a world searching for meaning and purpose, Jesus' influence remains a beacon. His words challenge us to examine our lives, love one another deeply, and seek a higher purpose. But beyond his global impact lies a personal question each of us must answer: who is Jesus to you? To cap it all, Will you explore his teachings more deeply? Will you allow his example to influence your life? Or perhaps you'll share his story with others, letting the light of his message shine through you. Do us a favor by liking, sharing, and subscribing to this channel for more.